young professional engineers drawn from 3 incredible African countries, from Uganda, from Nigeria, and from Ghana. So from Uganda, we have Gloria Mwebaze. From Nigeria, we have Timothy Adekeye. From Ghana, we have Jacqueline Sampereje and Kwesi Ahene. And I am delighted to be moderating today's session. So to keep the ball rolling, Kwesi Ahene, you just happen to have come from the recent FIDIC Global Infrastructure Conference with the theme, Infrastructure, No Time to Lose, Sustainable Global Strategies to Build a Better World. What were the highlights for you as a young professional engineer who had the opportunity to attend or participate in this Global Infrastructure Conference?
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome everyone to this discussion. I think for me, the opportunity to attend the Global Infrastructure Conference was a very huge one, because you have all these professionals at the top of the profession coming from different parts of the world to discuss the challenges that we face in our industry and then propose the solutions to some of these problems. Besides that, I had the opportunity to attend because I took the Future Leaders Management course, which also prepped me as a young engineer to understand the various operations of a consulting engineering firm, and also gave me the opportunity to partner with other young professionals around the world so that we could discuss the issues in relation to infrastructure. So for me, that was a very big opportunity, getting to meet people at the top of the profession and getting to learn from their experiences as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And Gloria, going through your profile, there was one outstanding thing that struck me, and that is your advocacy for encouraging young girls to participate in the engineering industry. So how impactful has that been since you started your journey of advocacy for women in engineering sector? Hello, Gloria. Okay, so as we wait on Gloria to respond.
Good morning.
Okay, hi, Gloria, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, I was trying to work my video somewhere. Just a second. Okay, yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Gloria.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. Of course, coming from my background where I'm an engineer, and in my year where we were 100 and something in the civil class, and we were like 8 ladies in that class. And to top it all off, some ended up going into auditing, not into the engineering fraternity. So most of them get sucked into that other practicing either banks or audit and all. So we ended up with like, I think 3 or 4 practicing engineers, I would basically say. And actively practicing, I would approximately say they're like 4. Yeah, one is in Rhodes registered, the other is also in UNRWA and all, and different fraternities. So anyways, what gave me this passion of trying to ensure that the different ladies or different engineers stay in this is the job where I got the opportunity to start work. It's a consultancy and it's called MBW Consulting, and it's headed by an engineer called Engineer Patrick Batumbia. He was also part of FIDIC, and He's a trainer in Uganda. So he's a father figure. Basically, he pushes the ladies to enter into engineering, and his work ethic basically prioritizes family as well, because that is the biggest thing that pushes ladies out of practicing engineering. If I have a young baby, I'm a mother myself, I'm married, a mother, and I have 3 children. So yeah, so that helps me. If I have to go to the field and do all these other things, there's that a priority they can give you as well. You have to be away, but not away full time. So you go do your thing, come back to your family, because family is priority. So if we have that simple background as ladies, there's a way we are kept into the practice, but also we are kept with the family, because if I'm pushed away from family, then I'll push away the career. So anyways, the reason why I entered into USCE and mentoring of young ladies, because of that idea that I've spoken about. I see most of them diverting because of all this fear of, in engineering, I have to be out there in the field, I have to do different things away from family, and yet most of them in that area, they are thinking of marriage, of children, and that's the critical stage where you're just thinking, man, let me just chill engineering and do other things that are easier. So when they have, yeah, when they have this experience and this other example that they can actually do both without the fear of feeling like I have to tackle one part and then enter into the other, because with the engineering field that I'm in, the civil or the structure field, if you give a gap of not practicing it once you have left university, it's very hard for you to come back to it, because people have moved on, people have learned designs, people have learned different things. So it's very hard. So you have to start at it immediately, and then in there, as you juggle career and all and everything, it works itself out. So it has put me into the position where I have to mentor young ladies to talk about the beauty of engineering and the beauty of juggling this and that and everything. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. And I'm also proud to say that the company I work with, Construmat, has also given room for inclusion. So we have a number of women in the industry, between sustainability and even in the engineering. We have women engineers, and there are very flexible working terms for us to be able to still work and then have time for the family. So I'm sure as we keep encouraging that and advocating for that, we should be able to have more women feeling free to work in the engineering sector. I can't wait for a time like that where we have, equal representation of women as well in the engineering sector. Timothy. Hi, Timothy.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Is that the case in Nigeria as well? Do we have a lot of women in the engineering sector, or it's just the same as Gloria has said as happens in Uganda?
Actually, there are quite a lot of opportunities for female engineers in Nigeria also. The firm I work with, Jonas Consultants, actually has quite a lot of female engineers. In fact, one of our top executives happens to be a female engineer, and she's extremely active, extremely driven, and that, I think, serves as a template, model for quite a few ladies, younger who are coming up, who see her making decisions, see her calling the shots, and that gives them something to look forward to. That gives them something to it serves as a model, as a template for them that, oh, there are opportunities for us here. There are opportunities for us in engineering.
Hi, Timothy. Sorry, but it seems I'm having a little issue with the sound. It's not that sharp. If you can just work a little around it or adjust it a little for me, please.
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yes, that's clearer. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yes,
So
that's fine.
I think that there are quite a few opportunities. I realized one of our top executives happens to be a lady, a woman, Engineer Klapper, and she's so driven. She's always out there. And that has served as a template, as a model for younger ladies who are just building their career in engineering. And so they see her and they know that, yes, it's okay, I can balance family and my career. And that has been a good example for the ladies. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And yes, not to shift our discussion to more of gender, but I just wanted that balance, then we can come to the main issue. So without further ado, I would actually invite our participants one at a time. I would mention names for us to share with our audience some of the strategies we adopt to mitigate climate change in our projects, then to ensure sustainable development. And I will start with Jacqueline, since we are all battling the multifaceted challenges posed by climate change. What are some of the mitigating measures you incorporate into your projects that you're currently worked on or you have worked on to ensure sustainable infrastructure? Jacqueline, over to you, please.
Hello, everyone, and morning to you all. And I'm very excited to be part of this discussion. So first of all, I would say that what I am currently doing is looking around, seeing the problems, and writing on them with solutions or recommendations to at least not on a bigger platform or to get directly to the policymakers, but at the end of the day, I'm sure one or two people would see what is being put out there and pick it up to implement for a better or sustainable development. And secondly, I had opportunity to work on the Greater Accra Resilience Infrastructure Project, which main focus is to mitigate flooding in Accra. And as part of that, they also have a component for solid waste. And I happen to work on landfill design project where we are developing a landfill in Accra. And I believe that once we are able to solve the solid waste aspects, we would be able to mitigate some of the flooding that occurred. We all understand that after a flood in Circle, you can walk around and all you see is plastic waste. So once we are able to collect some of these waste, process them, recycle some, then we are working towards mitigating flooding in Accra. And another project I am so passionate about is the soil separation and the compost project that the GIZ is carrying out, also in Accra. We are hoping that at the end of the project, we'll be able to sensitize the people to do better soil separation. Then right now we are focusing on the organic waste, where we are developing a compost plant to cater for that. But then hopefully the other recyclables are recycled and repurposed for other users. So I think that is one interesting project. I hope if it works can be replicated in other regions and other cities within the country and even beyond Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And your project seems very, very exciting. Timothy, how about you from Nigeria across Africa? Are there any such projects you've also worked on or have worked on in the past?
Okay, thank you. So in Nigeria, yes, just as Jacqueline said, there's been a great push for a lot of recycling, plastic waste, or more importantly, there's been great research on what to do, how to use these products, how to use these, what to convert these waste, supposedly waste materials into, and how they can be used in construction, how they can be used to build better infrastructure. Also in design, majorly, to try to find ways to use, to design sustainably. So we have factors that put into consideration things that have to do with preservation of nature. We try to use as much as possible locally available material. Those are some of the things that are in the pipeline or are being worked on currently in Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Uganda, Gloria, any exciting projects from Uganda that you would want to share with us as well?
Okay, thank you very much. I'll start with the first that I managed to work on. That was one that was funded by USAID and the government of Uganda. That was going to be in the Forestry Reserve and as well as the Wildlife Authority, UWA. So those two projects were based in sensitive areas where you can't just tamper with nature. So that pushed, because already it was a demand from, from the funder, which was a good thing. So we had to do structures, basically. There were buildings, so we had to think of materials that can easily blend with the environment for the shade and all. So we had to think of the timber to try to use to blend in, then the stones, the rocks. So those were the two materials that we basically used for the buildings. Yeah. And then for UWA, of course, we're trying to conserve animals and all, and we're doing low water crossings because we needed bridges, but if you're in the wildlife, you can't put there a bridge, it can easily cause an endangerment to the animals as well. So the idea was to do low water crossings that can easily, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so we put there low water crossings for those two projects. Then the other one was basically schools. So this is an environment where we have so many students. So the idea was you have so many students, you have buildings, then you have pit latrines. So what do you do with the waste? So we had to recycle the waste basically to use it for gas, to use for cooking gas, which was a brilliant idea. Yeah, it was my first project. I had never seen it as well, basically. Yeah, but it worked perfectly, and the school recycles their waste to use for cooking, so which was very innovative. So yeah, that's the other thing currently where I am. I'm in Towers. I'm in Towers. So this push is out there. I work with American Tower, and they push for the zero emission and all. So what we normally do when we build the towers, we try as much as possible not to use DGs and minimize all those other things that are harmful. So we are now going to solar. So we use more of the solar panels. Yeah. So we are trying to move away from using the generators. Now we are pushing for solar sites, and then using other conventional methods, also grid, that's hydropowered electricity. So those are the two main things that we are now pushing for in our different sites that we have all over Uganda, so that they are all in that sustainable area. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Kwesi.
Hi, okay. So in my case, I think in 2018, my company had a chance to supervise the construction of the 40th Pokwase interchange. And we had the opportunity to implement some climate-friendly measures, in the sense that, the Pokwase interchange is situated at the ACP junction, where we have the Gwa, what we call the Gwa forest, okay? And this serves as a receptacle. Forests serve as receptacles for CO2 in the atmosphere, which reduces, the rates of climate change, okay? So one of our biggest priorities was to make sure that that forest was preserved, such that it could continue to play the role it plays for all of us, and to make sure that our construction activities were not going to impact it in a harmful way. Okay, so that was a very big one for us. Also, I mean, outside CO2 emissions, one thing we tried to do was to tackle the flooding situation in the Pokwase environs, okay, where we had the interchange. And so we came up with what we call flood mitigation measures, because we realized that whilst we were dealing with stormwater being produced by the interchange, we were not getting a very proper outfall to send this stormwater. And this was going to cause problems for communities downstream. And so we had to liaise with the lenders to release some extra funds to be able to help tackle the stormwater issues within the Pokwase environs and channel our stormwater to a safe outfall. So that was it in terms of flooding. Now we are having a similar thing on one of our projects that I'm working on currently, called the Eastern Corridor Lot 1, whereby it's a 64-kilometer road from Tema to Ashaiman. And we also have kind of like a forest along that route. Okay, so what we've tried to do is to prevent our alignment from encroaching in the forest because of the vital role that this forest plays for all of us. So in a nutshell, these are measures that we've tried to employ in our own small way to contribute to the discussion.
Okay, great. So just to follow up on you, Kwesi, your current projects at the Eastern Corridor, you're talking about the forest reservation. I see you do work with a lot of forest areas. So are there any challenges you have faced in trying not to impact the forestry? Have you had any challenges? That aside, are you experiencing any significant challenges in trying to carry out sustainable infrastructure development?
All right, so in terms of preservation of the forest, I would say not too much, because most of it lies in our hands. Okay, so we haven't had too much of a challenge with that. And I think usually the issue would have been if there was no other road reservation, or we could not shift the alignment to a suitable place. But in so far the cases where I've worked, we've always had that. So we haven't had much of a big challenge when it comes to that. But I think generally some of the challenges we face when it comes to these things is that I think as engineers or project managers, clients, everyone's mind is tuned to the core principles of project management: time, cost, and scope. And now here comes the case where they have to start thinking about sustainability, which means they have to look at social aspects, they have to look at environmental aspects, and even the financial aspects. So it's like now they have more headache, okay, which not all of them are willing to easily accept. Okay, so I think it's something which will take a bit of time for people to adjust to. Okay, I think over time, as people realize the importance of some of these things, I think gradually they will warm up to it. And of course, I mean, from the client's perspective, the lending agencies, once they start or continue putting in strong demands for some of these things, it will also force whoever is handling these projects to pay very important attention to these things. I think we did quite well with that at Pokwase, because even in terms of the choice of local roads and so on, we were very particular so that we will not just have a national project which was benefiting the country, but socially in terms of the community where the project found itself. We wanted to make sure that it was going to uplift the status of the community. So the local roads help improve accessibility within the community, actually improved the economic situation there. The place is much transformed than we went to meet it. And then even in terms of things we did like HIV screening, and so all those kinds of things helped socially. Okay, so in a nutshell, those are my thoughts concerning this issue.
I think you took the exact words out of my mouth. I was going to say, in a nutshell, that is a real definition of a sustainable project, not having any odds against the environment, but then fostering partnership between the society, the environment, and then the project, and as well improving the economic outputs of the community. Thumbs up for that project.
Thank you.
Yes. Gloria, do you share the same opinion of challenges faced on your projects, or do you have a different perspective to yours to share with us, please?
So basically, I would say some projects, like I mentioned, if they are funded and they come with that aspect of sustainability, it's a walkover. Because we had a project where it was supposed to be in the oil area. So it was a bit sensitive. Yeah, and I don't know why oil is normally in game parks. So it's a game park, and they are trying to get oil, and then they are trying, of course, to do projects in there. So there was a lot of environmental. It took like half the project just trying to ascertain that this project is worth it. We had to change like 3 different environmentalists because reports were not they were not sufficient. The client was still not satisfied. So it was very strict and hard, and these were just markets, meanwhile, that were going to be built in the area. So it was supposed to benefit the community and basically to make the community better, because this is a village setting, but now they have discovered oil in there. So now they are trying to make the community better. So they want markets to be brought in there. But then the environmental aspect was so high. But it was a good thing because they had to investigate all these things. How are they affecting the community? How are they going to affect the people? And what are the benefits? So it took quite a toll, but it was a good project. Yeah.
Okay, great. Jacqueline, I remember you once presented a paper, I think at the GHIE conference in Takoradi on ESHS compliance. Would you want to take us through some of the challenges that projects face in trying to ensure sustainable infrastructure? You wrote a paper on that.
Yeah. Okay, so I think what you've mentioned is not far from what I wrote in my paper. So basically, ESHS is when the project does not impact on the society and the environment adversely. But here in the case of development, there's no way you would say, I'm building a road here and there will be no interaction or interference of people's activities. But then what are the measures I'm putting in place to ensure that even if I have to move some people away from the place, what am I doing for them to feel better? So ESHS compliance basically means ensuring that you are not polluting the environment, ensuring that the people in the community are well satisfied with the project in terms of what you are giving to them. It's not going to impact on their economic, socioeconomic activity, but rather improve on them, on their lives. Some of the challenges that I came to know about in putting together the paper and from experience from our monitoring projects on the Tamale, Tatale, Yendi Tamale Road in the northern region. We are not supervising engineers on the project, but monitoring consultants. So we basically monitor whatever is going on the road, then report on it, whether they are doing the right thing or not to the client. It's a World Bank funded project, so it also has very strict environmental and social compliance policies. So some of the challenges that we face as monitoring consultants on the project is dealing with the contracting entities, because they are there, they are being paid based on the number of kilometers they work on. So if yeah, to comply with all the, and they always want to find a way to navigate around that. But our work is also to ensure that the right thing is done. And also the understanding of what it even means. Some of
Please, can we hear her? Can we hear her?
staff, the contracting entity staff don't even understand what it means. That, okay, why am I supposed to reclaim a land if I borrow the material from the place? They don't understand the essence. Hello?
Jacqueline.
Yeah.
Hello, Jacqueline. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I think I have it. I lost you for a few seconds, so you can continue, please.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Another point is some of the engineers don't really understand what it means to practice sustainability in projects. So it's up to us to also educate them or sensitize them on that. Why are you to reclaim a land after borrowing materials? Why do you have to do that? So that at the end of the day, next person who wants to build something can get access to that, or we don't lose the vegetation in the area. So these are some of the things I identified in putting together the paper on the ESHS compliance motion. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. Still on your point, but this time I'll direct it to Timothy. What sets us apart? I'm talking about with the engineers, the sustainable analysts who are enthused about sustainability, more so to the engineers. What sets you apart from other engineers for your advocacy for sustainability? Is it because you're just passion driven, or I don't know, what sets you apart from other engineers? Because Jacqueline mentioned that the other engineers, just like yourself, Kwesi, and Gloria and Jacqueline, why are they not buying into the sustainable development discourse?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. I believe there are quite a few things, but I would like to say that I feel the principal one is training. Training. A lot of times what we are exposed to, the training they're exposed to, conditions your mind to think in a certain way. Now, based on projects, when you work on projects, especially donor agency projects, donor agency funded projects, there is a high demand. There's a high demand for sustainability. But on private projects, or yes, private
Timothy,
projects.
I'm losing you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I lost you again for some seconds.
All right.
Can you take that again? Excuse me.
I said training is a major part of it.
Training, yes.
Projects you're exposed to really, to a large extent, dictates your expectations, dictates your actions on a project. So if you work on donor agency projects, there's a high demand for, especially international donor agencies, there's a high demand for sustainability. And so that awakens that consciousness in you. But when you're working on private, mostly what I discovered is that for engineers that have worked on majorly private projects, you find it hard to, they're asking questions like, why do I need to implement this? Why do I need to give considerations to the environment? Why do I need to, I once went, I worked on a project, it was a mining project, and a large expanse of land was being cleared, vegetation. And immediately I got there, I was like, what's going on? What are the plans? Are we planting a new forest somewhere? And I was asking a lot of questions, but they seemed confused, like, what do you mean? This is our job. We are here to clear this place. We are here to do, that's all that concerns us. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is this is not right. This is what they were perplexed, like, no, this is normal. We're here to get the job done. So let's get the job done and move on. And I realized that one of the things that that I can say that are factors that maybe affected those people, those engineers, was the fact of training and the projects they have been exposed to. So there's huge resistance from engineers who are not properly informed in this life, who are not trained in this life, that it is not right for you to just carry on with the project without giving due consideration to the environment, to the people in the environment. And then there are also people in the environment who are who at times are resistant to environmental and social specifications. You cordon off a work area and people are right in your business. They are trying to get in there to see what you're doing. Whereas they are not enlightened about how to be in that space safely, how to what to expect, what to look out for. And you try to explain it to them, but they are wondering and they're trying to figure out that no, we are doing something in our environment and we need to get in on it. We need to see what's happening, not considering the dangers that may be associated with them just coming in unprepared, uninformed. So some of these things are factors that have helped, that have set me apart. Training is a major one. Training is a major one. Thank you.
Thank you. Gloria, any thoughts to share on that, please?
Just to add on to what Timothy has said, in addition to training, these sustainability methods are like new. Now, coming from a field where our engineers have been in the field doing projects the way they have been doing it, the change, because sustainability, the materials you have to use, the design requires a lot of research, and some of these people don't want to do any of that. They feel like it's too much work. For what? For just a structure? Just build it. So they want to do it the same way they have been doing it. So that whole thing of trying to change something. Timothy mentioned something about the people clearing. Yeah, I worked with an architect. He doesn't clear any forests, as in he thinks of that whole idea of this is the place, this is a tree, I want this tree, it has to be there. So if you're going to put there any structure, do not touch any tree. Do not bring a grader, don't. Leave the place as it is and construct. And those are very few, meanwhile, because most of them will be like, you're being paid for clearing, bring the excavator. And they grade and remove all the trees. And then at the end of the project, you're seeing tree planting. Now you're like, why did you cut the trees to plant the trees? So you're being paid to clear them and you're being paid to plant the trees. So it's a total cost and everything. Yeah. And the other one would basically be funding. Most of this research needs a lot of money. So if you think about it, and we are the young people who can write those reports that want to be funded, the most old people are like, man, looking for funding is another different aspect. So you have to look for funding because it's if you're using a new material, you can't start by doing it on a client's house. You have to practice it somewhere first to see that it works. So that is funding that has to be done first. Then you sample it somewhere and then you do it, you try it out, because people fear new technology and then they fear to try to be the starter. You don't want it to fail on you. As engineers, you're liable. If a structure collapses, no one is going to ask you, was this new technology? They're just thinking of like, let's take you in. The building collapsed, it collapsed. No one wants to know whether you're trying new technology or not. It collapsed, end of story. We'll do the research after. So I think those are the two things that people fear a lot, yeah.
All right. Okay, so we delve into climate change itself. Yes, I'm sure we are all fully aware of the global discourse on mitigating climate change, and we recently hear of trying to achieve net zero, reducing greenhouse gas emissions and all of that. As young African professionals, what's your take do you think we are ready to also zoom into the adaptation or mitigation of achieving net zero? Are we ready as Africans to adapt to that? I start with Jacqueline. What's your take on that?
Okay. Thank you, Gloria. I like the idea of not clearing the land before building. Well, I wouldn't say we are ready as Africa to.
Jacqueline. Hello, Jacqueline.
Okay, hello. Okay, sorry about that. My internet went off briefly.
Sorry. So we
Can
have you
you
back
hear
on.
me?
Yes, please, we have you back on. Please continue. Oh,
Okay. As Africa, I don't know, or I don't think we are ready, especially.
no,
Please, can you
Jacqueline,
hear
it's
me?
not so clear. So I would kindly ask that you put your thoughts together. Let me listen, or let me take Kwesi's take, then I'll come back to you. So just give me a few seconds and put your thoughts together whilst I listen to Kwesi. So Kwesi, please, whilst Jacqueline is doing that, kindly share your take on whether Africa is ready to go into achieving net zero.
All right, so I don't think I have a definitive answer for us, but I would want to highlight the scale of the challenge that lies ahead of us, in the sense that we are counterparts in Europe, in the Americas, have had to develop without thinking much about net zero and so on previously. That became a topic of discussion much later. Now we are having to develop whilst thinking of all these net zero and so on, which requires, investment. Means that traditional methods that have worked for other people that they've used to develop, now we would have to consider alternatives, okay? And it's not going to be easy, because even our fundamental problems, we are not done solving them. So how are we going to combine solving our fundamental problems with achieving net zero? So there's a big mountain ahead of us to climb, okay? We now have to, in terms of Africa, I think 60% of our greenhouse emissions is from South Africa, Egypt, Algeria, okay? And most of it is because of their use of coal and some other things. Now they would have to find renewable substitutes for these things, which is not going to be cheap and it's not going to come easy. So it's something that I think we really need to think through and see the best way forward. But I just want to highlight the fact that it's not going to be a very simple and easy journey for us. And I think it's also a bit unfair in the sense that others have had the chance to develop without thinking much about these things. And we now have to, add that to our headache. I don't know if I make sense.
Yeah, a lot of it actually. a lot of it. Yes. So Gloria, I saw you smiling throughout his submission. What is your take?
Kwesi has just spoken my heart. I agree. I remember when I was at the last FIDIC and they were talking about all this net zero, and I was like, man, you guys, we have just discovered oil. What are you talking about? Now you're telling us we need to move away from oil before we even test it.
Yeah.
It was a very hard thing. So anyways, I discovered that we as Africa, anyways, we are just suffering for the other people's sins. But we have to blend in because we are the ones suffering from all the consequences, the flooding, the heat, the what, and all the other things. And anyways, being that we're the developing country, it is much easier to focus on us before we make the mistakes they made. Yeah. So the only problem, like Kwesi mentioned, is the cost. The cost. All these things that come with net zero are not cheap. The technologies and then the teaching of everything that we need to do. Because we basically have all these renewable energies here in Africa. We have the hydro, most of us who have the hydropower, then we have the solar, and then we have the wind in all those other areas that can solicit all this. It can be done, but the money that we have to invest in order to see it coming to life, because doing wind energy, it's not a cheap investment. And just getting solar, I remember, I think, was it Kwesi who went for that? Did you go for the Future Leaders solar?
Okay, I didn't go for the trip actually.
Oh, you missed it. It was about
Yes,
the
I
solar
missed it.
panels on the water and all. And I was
Yes.
like, man, technology. So it's not a cheap investment.
I think Albert can be.
Yeah, thank you. So it's not a very cheap investment, but once we get each and everyone on board, mostly the political leaders, because like I informed you, the cost is very high. And then also we have just discovered some precious items and the government can't just let it go. So they have to be advised on how to handle that, because you can't just tell them, stop mining it or stop doing this. No, you have to inform them of how to do it well so that it doesn't cause harm to the environment. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for that submission. Jacqueline, do we have you now, please?
Yes.
Okay, so great. So you can share your thoughts.
Okay. So I think Kwesi has even taken the words out of my mouth as well. Because I think at this point, we also need a fair chance to also develop. As it stands now, he gave some statistics, but in total, Africa contributes less than 4% of the greenhouse gas emissions globally. So in this, are we emitting enough to drive to net zero, or we give us a chance to catch up, then we can also start going net zero. So as it stands now, I don't believe that Africa is ready to get there because we have a lot on our head with infrastructure development. Where are we in terms of waste management? Where are we? Can we give water, safely manage water to everybody? Everybody have access to safely manage water, sanitation facilities? No, we don't. So at this point, I think we should be given the opportunity to also catch up. But then I believe we are in a rush to do this because of funding, as Gloria has rightly said. Most of this funding that comes to us to develop this requires that we achieve net zero or practice sustainable infrastructure development.
Jacqueline.
Hello.
Yes, please. Yes, I can hear
Can
you.
you hear me now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So like I said, I think we are in a rush to achieve this net zero because of the associated funding that comes with it. So now most of the funding from multilateral agencies demands that we practice green infrastructure, sustainable development, and all of these are driving at achieving net zero. So it's about time we also get our concerns across. What is the African perspective of the climate change discourse? What is it for us, and why do we need time to achieve this? so that at least the pressure that comes with it doesn't get us to rush into achieving it. In recent news in the UK, the Prime Minister announced an ease in their policy to transition from petrol-based vehicles to electric vehicles up to 2035. And even after that, they are allowing for people to transition slowly so that it doesn't affect people economically. And imagine in Africa, we are rushing to bring in electric, in Ghana, we are rushing to bring in electric buses. So, and we don't even have a sustainable electricity to charge these vehicles. So how do we navigate around that? So it's about time we understand that we need to develop, catch up before we move on to achieving the global agenda on the net zero. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So we have 7 minutes to go. So what we'll do is I'll give each one 1 minute to run up by telling us, aside what we're already doing, writing articles, attending conferences, giving presentations, sharing our opinions and intellect on sustainable infrastructure. How else can the young African professional have their voices heard in decision making that will virtually affect us in future? 1 minute for everybody. I start with Timothy.
Thank you. Wow. Well, I think there are quite a few things we can do. Yes, there's a place of advocacy, there's a place of capacity building and training, but we also have to get engaged. We have to get engaged in community development projects. We have to find ways to get our voices heard, not only in what we are saying, but even what we are doing. People need to see our effort, our input. Now, how do I mean our input? It's not enough to just write a paper and leave it out there. We actually have to get our voices heard in the places that matter. We need to get, just as bodies like FIDIC are, I believe that most countries have their own form of association of consulting engineers. And I believe even on that ground, we can start by bringing to the fore, presenting papers there, bringing to the fore our concerns, our ideas, because there's a tendency as youths to believe that, the older engineers know it all. No, we should also bring what we have to offer to the table. We should bring our ideas. We should bring fresh perspectives. We should bring our research up, and then have it fine-tuned, and then see how it can affect, how it can bring about a change. Our papers in the public space alone will not work. We need to change our associations. We need to change our consulting engineering in our environment, in our nation, and thereby we can get our voices
heard. You have 5 seconds to round up. 5 seconds to round up.
And finally, beyond all of that, we also need to be.
Yes, your 1 minute is up.
We need to be part of FIDIC. We need to get our voices there, even there. Our concerns about Africa, our concerns about how we feel we need time. Those things also need to be aired at conferences and at programs like FIDIC. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Kwesi, 5 seconds. 5 seconds for your thoughts.
Okay, thank you. So I think basically the other speakers here are already doing what needs to be done in providing leadership, in making sure our voice is heard in the necessary places. And I would want to congratulate them for their papers and articles that have already been presented at FIDIC. I must say I've been very inspired seeing them doing what they've done so far. And some of us hope to follow that line soon. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and you are welcome to the team. Gloria, 2 seconds.
I would basically say, from what Timothy has said, it's learning. It needs to start with us. We as Africa, we are made up of so many youth. 80% is an African is youth. So if we take that step and then we try to educate the others about the benefits of the sustainability, how is it going to benefit us? Because people will just complain about the changes, climate change, but when we are doing nothing about it. So if we take one step where we take the action, we learn about it, we teach people about it, teach them about the benefits, move to communities and spread it all out there, then once people see the benefits of it, they want to be hands-on. How else can they do? And it doesn't have to be the big projects, just the small things. It starts with household items. How do you waste power? How do you waste water? How do you waste the small things, as in, are you littering? The small things, we bring it down to the community, then they will know that they can actually do something one day at a time. Then, yeah.
Thank you. Jacqueline, you have 3 seconds to share your thoughts. 3 seconds.
Okay, I think I share in all the ideas that my colleagues have mentioned. What I would also add is collaboration as African youth coming together. The FIDIC Africa and the FIDIC Global platform, they have forums, leadership forums, they have a whole lot of committees that come together and they make these decisions for us. What are we doing as Africans? We can also come together and make a decision, and it could go a long way rather than one person putting up a particular article which people will just read and forget. But if we are a movement, together we stand, then our voices will be heard more on the global platforms. Thank you.
Thank you. So on that note, Jacqueline, we are going to start collaborating, and you are going to be the movement president to have the voices of the young African professionals heard. So I hope we continue from here.
I agree.
Yes, so I hope our conversation and discussion doesn't end on this platform. And our audience, I hope you had some great insights from our panelists. Thank you so much all, and we look forward to having you here again next week as we discuss other issues that affect us. Thank you all for your time, and do have a great day. Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.